Hello, out and equal attendees. I am so happy to be here with you today. My name is Christina Wigginton, and I am here to talk to you about how to leverage your expertise to change the world. So if you give me one moment, I will share my screen and we can run through the slides that I have created. Here we go. Great. So again, we are here for Book Publishing 101, leverage your expertise and change the world. I'm so happy that you're here. I cannot wait to work with you to really get some clarity about your book idea, what your goals are, what success will look like for you, and where to go from here. So before we get started, a couple of pieces of housekeeping. I'm not sure how the platform is going to work, but I would love to know the name you'd like to be called by and whatever your pronouns are. So if that's not already listed in the Out and Equal platform, if you could type it in the chat box or just let me know in some other way, that would be great. It'll be incredibly instructive for whenever we are doing our live Q&A session at the end of the call. So let's use the campfire rule, be kind, and leave people better than you found them. Writing books is a very creative and vulnerable process, and we're all here to share where we are now exactly. As I hope you'll see as we move on, everyone's journey is different. We're all coming to the table at a different phase of our project and potentially our confidence, and what is exactly right for one book and one person will not be the right path for the other. So let's come together in a spirit of cooperation and collaboration and support as we move through exploring all of these great avenues that you have for making your book project a reality. Download, if you haven't already, the Publishing Strategy Foundations worksheet, which will be on the right-hand side of your screen along links, I believe. And if you could complete the poll, if you haven't already, I would love to know where you are at with your project. And that's what we'll review in the poll. So we're about to get rolling. Gather together whatever you need to take notes with, get some water, gather your enthusiasm and your courage, and let's get cracking. I'll begin the, excuse me, I'll begin the live Q&A call approximately 45 minutes after the start of this call. So I'll pop into the chat whenever this is playing and let you know when I'll plan to start exactly. So I would imagine that it will be around 4:45 Eastern Standard Time. And do hang in there with us. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're all here to support one another. Okay, so let's go. First, let me introduce myself a little more formally. My name is Christina Wigginton. I am a nonfiction publishing strategist. I have my own book development company called Metamorphosis Book Development. I launched it last year after about 15 years in the nonfiction publishing industry. So before I started this company, I worked with nonfiction authors who wanted to publish with the Smithsonian, and astronauts, artists, and everyone in between. And I took books from acquisitions to warehouse. So I started my company because I reviewed thousands of proposals and maybe tens of thousands in my 15 years at the Smithsonian. And there were so many wonderful books, truly wonderful books, that we just couldn't sign, either because they weren't a good fit or they needed just maybe 10 or 15% more to be attractive to a publisher. And that gap really started to wear on me. And I realized that there wasn't really any information that I could find to help authors at the beginning of their process decide what avenue to publishing was most suitable for their specific book. So what I saw over the time was that there were so many authors who did what everyone said that they should do. Get an agent, put together a proposal, try to find a traditional publisher. And when they got where they were going, it's not where they really wanted to be. So sometimes they would sink, 3, 5, 8 years into building an audience or creating a very specific manuscript that was fully complete before they vetted it with anyone. And they were left kind of holding the bag. There was nowhere to put their work that was satisfying and meaningful to them. So it's actually my mission to keep that from happening. So I provide authors advice and feedback and informed strategies so that everyone can make the decisions that are exactly right for their book, not waste time doing stuff that's right for a more general project. So that is me, and this is my second year at Out and Equal. My first year was last year, and it was just so incredible to get to network with all of the attendees. I'm thrilled to be presenting here today. So let's dive right into our agenda. So this is what you can expect. First, we're going to do a nonfiction publishing overview. This is where you'll get the general picture of the 4 main stages of nonfiction publishing. Then you will move forward to a summary of publishing foundation strategy. You're going to hear this a lot from me. Strategy is everything. Strategy is the key to you moving along the publishing process successfully and with ease. So you're doing yourselves a huge favor showing up here to really work out your publishing strategy. And that's something that we're going to do together, and there will be time for questions at the end. So by the time you leave here today, you will have an action plan for moving your book forward. So I'll describe the publishing foundation strategy, and then we'll do the workshop piece. And then we'll move on to the live Q&A. So that is what you can expect. And I foreshadowed this a little bit, but this is what you'll leave with: a better understanding of the nonfiction publishing process and where you are in it. Clarity around these core strategic questions, your core message or thesis, your audience, how your book will be used, and what your own goals are for the project, and what your markers of success are. And then the last thing will be a list of actionable next steps that will harness the momentum of the work that you're doing today and allow you to carry this through to the rest of your creative life. Okay. So just quickly before we get started, I'm going to be live in the chat box while this recording is running. So if you have questions or need clarification or something comes up that you'd like to ask while the video is running, please do pop into the chat box and ask away, and I'll do my best to answer those questions live. If for some reason the chat box is hopping and I can't do it all on my own, I'll be sure to either answer the questions in our live Q&A, or I'll reach out to you separately, or you can reach out to me and we can get those questions answered for you. Okay. let's talk about nonfiction publishing. We're about to go through a very top-level overview, and we'll be discussing specifically options around self-publishing, which you may know is available to anyone, really, and it's through some popular platforms are the Amazon Kindle. There are platforms for illustrated books. I think the Barnes & Noble has a platform. So there are a lot of choices that you can make if you decide to do self-publishing in terms of the platform that will best support your work. And then traditional publishing. So traditional publishing is really where you are working with a publisher who is sharing the risk. So they're also taking on a lot of the work. You provide the content, and they provide the publishing team and the marketing support and the printing and warehousing for your product. So there are a lot of genres within traditional publishing, and what genre you might want to focus in will depend on where your audience is. We'll get into some of those details, though we won't get incredibly specific there. But again, it's audience-led. So let's move on to the nonfiction publishing roadmap. The number one piece of advice I have for all of you authentic and motivated authors out there is not to get ahead of yourself. So there is a path, there are stages and steps, and the best thing you can do for yourself and your project is to stay focused on the step that you're in this moment and not worry about what you're going to do in steps 2, 3, and 4. And the reason for that is that in whatever step or silo that you're in right now, what you will do in the next stage is unknowable. You can't know for sure what to do until you have completed step 1, step 2, or all the rest. So just try to take a breath and really connect to the truth that you can't know the unknowable, and the best thing that you can do for your project is to stay fully engaged in, I'm outside of this yellow triangle circle here, to stay fully engaged in the step that you're in. So that is my advice that I give to everyone. If you're in ideation and strategy, do not worry about building your team and writing in this moment. Just focus your energy on ideation and strategy. Okay, so let's just start moving through these 4 steps. Step 1 is ideation and strategy. So this is the step that you're in whenever you have an idea. You have a great idea. You're not sure exactly how you're going to make it come to life and share it with your audience or with the public, but you're working on it. So at this stage, you refine your idea, you're identifying your audience, maybe you're mind mapping or finalizing your outline, and you're also establishing your publishing strategy foundation. So that is something that we will work on now. If you already have a manuscript, say you've written a manuscript already and you're just kind of waiting to figure out or trying to figure out what to do with it, you'll start at the ideation and strategy stage and move your way through. So it will mean that step 3, build your team and write, might be a little less labor intensive. But before you move forward, you need to get the strategy in place. So that is step 1, ideation and strategy. Step 2 is choose a path, then pitch. that means that using the strategy that you've developed as your guide, you choose a publishing path. What is right for your project? Where is your audience? Are they living? What are your goals? Answers to those questions will help you determine if you want to approach self-publishing and go that route, or if you would like to go the traditional publishing route. So the kind of action steps will be different for each of these routes, but you will really have so much clarity and be able to direct your attention once you make this decision. There are a lot of very good reasons to publish with a traditional publisher and publish doing self-publishing. It is not true anymore that only people published with traditional publishers are considered serious authors. The landscape is totally different now, and really all things are possible. So what you end up choosing will be informed 100% by your publishing strategy foundation. Getting into this question of whether traditional publishing or self-publishing is right for you is something that I work with clients on individually, based specifically on the answers to their strategy, their publishing foundation strategies. So if, as we move through this, you have more questions about how to decide, that's something that we can talk about in the live Q&A. And that's something that I support my clients with as well. So we can talk more deeply about that. Okay, then you move on to, once you have chosen your potential partners, so whether it's an agent or if you're going right to a publisher, or if you have decided to self-publish, then you pitch. So that could look like developing your proposal and pitching to an agent, developing a proposal and pitching it to a publisher, or developing and assessing, almost developing a proposal and assessing your self-publishing route. So what type of technology are you going to use? That's what that would look like if you were self-publishing. That's step 2. Step 3 is building your team and writing. So I know that you'll think, writing is step 3? Yes, it is. Writing is step 3. Writing your whole book is often step 3. So you'll be at step 3, you'll be building your team. So if you are going the nonfiction route, building your team would look like getting an agent, if that's something you choose to do, and getting a nonfiction publisher, being signed contractually with the publisher. In this case, the publisher builds the team for you. So you get them on board, the publisher on board, and the publisher manages the team. If you are self-publishing, there are a few people that you'll need to get together on a team for you, and that you'll be managing, unless you hire a packager to manage it in your stead. And some of those people are an editor. So editors can be substantive, which is they'll be helping you with kind of conceptual development, being sure that your book idea is, and your writing are in their fullest forms. There aren't any holes in your arguments, and you're really saying what you need to say. And then, of course, a line editor. And those people are responsible for ensuring that everything is present and correct. The formatting is right, your grammar is correct. I like to think of them as the people who keep you from embarrassing yourself, me included. You'll also need a typesetter. Those are the people or the piece of tech that transform your manuscript from a Word document or a Google Doc into the book format. And you might need a designer. So someone to design the cover or to design some of the interior features like chapter openers. So those are a handful of people that you would definitely need if you were self-publishing. This is whenever you identify those people and you sign them on. And then you get to writing. So you'll be doing your first full draft. You'll be doing any additional research. You'll be gathering your illustrations. This is the stage where you're really, after you have your team, you start to really dig into the work of writing. And then you move on to the work of publishing. So publishing a book and writing a book are not the same thing. Writing a book stops here at step 3. Whenever you have a complete manuscript, you've written a book. And some people, actually, that's all that they want to do. They just want to have written a book. Whether it's published or not is neither here nor there for them. If you choose to move on to step 4, which is the work of publishing a book, this is the business of making a book. And things that entails are things like working with the team that you have built to polish your book, responding to edits, responding to cover designs, doing advertising or marketing, either independently or partnering with the team, dealing with the typesetting, the production. This is the business of everything from you turning your manuscript in or creating your shitty first draft and getting your manuscript into the editor, all the way to holding your book in your hands, whether that's in an electronic version or a printed form. So again, there are 4 main stages to nonfiction publishing. Stage 1, ideation and strategy. Stage 2, choose a path and pitch. Stage 3, build your team and write. And stage 4, the work of publishing. Do yourself a favor and stay within your stage. If you're in stage 2, don't worry about stages 3 and 4. If you're in stage 3, don't worry about stage 4. Just stay in your lane until you're ready to move on. That's my number 1 piece of advice. Okay. So again, if you have any questions about all of that you'd like me to answer now, that would keep you from moving forward or are really puzzling you, making you feel puzzled, please do enter them into the chat box. I'll be there live and I'm happy to respond to them. All right, so now we're going to move from talking about nonfiction publishing at large to talking very specifically about your project's publishing foundation strategy or publishing strategy foundations, either way. All roads lead to strategy. Once you are able to answer the questions, the 5 questions that are coming up that will be coming later fully, you'll have all of the answers you need to make informed decisions about all of the other stages on the publishing path. It's very powerful and it's very grounding. And I'm so excited to share these questions with you so that you can feel really rooted in your own expertise and capability, and so that you can move your project forward in a way that feels right. So we will first review the 5 questions, and I'll explain them a little bit more and what potential answers could be. And then we'll move into the workshop piece, which is where you're putting pen to paper or however you'd like to complete the questions and really get into the nitty-gritty. So 5 questions to rule them all. I'm a geek, I can't help this Lord of the Rings reference, sorry. Okay, so these are the 5 questions that every publishing decision from now until the end of time will circulate around. This is your foundation. Answer these and you are 100% better than you were before in terms of your positioning. So question 1, what is your thesis? This isn't, you would be surprised how difficult this is to answer, actually. in a concise way. So if you're not sure what your thesis is, don't worry about it. But we are going to solve that problem within the next 15 minutes. So a thesis is what your book is about. So what is your central claim? Another way of thinking about that is if someone read your book and walked away with, and they could only remember one thing about it, what would you want that thing to be? That belief or that piece of knowledge? What would you want the one thing that they knew for sure to be when they were finished reading your book? Question 2, who exactly is your audience? This is an important one because there's no such thing for writing a book for everyone. There is no book for everyone. There is no book that everyone on this earth could be helped by and would enjoy. The more specific you can be in who you're writing the book for, the better you will be able to serve those people and the more reach your book will have overall. So I like to call it kind of universality through specificity. And I have a lot of very corny examples of this that run through my mind, but particularly because, I don't know, it's weird. But anyhow, the example that's coming up for me right now is the Forrest Gump, the movie Forrest Gump, the scene where he's sitting on the bench and he says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Universality through specificity. So most people who watch that could both understand that experience exactly of like trying to turn them over and figure out which one has the caramel and chocolate and which one has that weird fluffy cherry stuff, and just not knowing before they got the maths in. But anyway, and that they could immediately make that connection to life, to really that analogy was true, and that you never did know what was going to happen. So the specificity of the chocolate box example spoke to the universality of human experience. And that will also be true for your book. So I would encourage you to continue to push yourself to get as specific as you can for who your audience is. What do they care about? What are they worried about? What level of their career are they in? Is there some specific person in your life that you think would benefit from this book? And if you write the book like you're writing to them, that can really help you get super focused. So for this exercise, whenever you're doing it in the workshop, again, get as specific as you can. And if you are stumped after 2 minutes, just keep asking yourself, what else? What else could be true for my audience? What else? And the answers to this question will be key in deciding step 2, which is your publishing path. Because your publishing path, in my opinion, should be audience driven. Who are you writing it for? And where do they go for content? So those will be your leading questions for stage 4. All right, so number 3, what are your goals for this project? This is something that is incredibly unique and specific for each individual author and each individual project. So what are your goals? Is your goal to have something to give to your client so that you don't have to repeat yourself over and over? Is it to get published so that you can increase your kind of reputation? Is it to write a book that shares your story that you can share with your family or your grandkids? Is it to be a New York Times bestseller? Is it to be interviewed by Oprah? Like, what are your goals? What do you want from it? There are no right answers to this. Any answer is correct. Just try to be very honest with yourself about what is coming up for you for real. If what you really want, your goal is really to be a New York Times bestseller, don't downplay it and say, but I'll take self-publishing because that is kind of the easiest. Because I guarantee you that you will not feel successful if what your deepest desire is to be a New York Times bestseller and you've settled for something that won't lead you to that. So just be honest with yourself. It's the best thing you can do to support your project right now and your own creative energy. Question 4, what will publishing success look and feel like? This is another important one, and it takes a little bit of visualization, but really feel into it. How will you know that you are successfully published? What will it feel? What will being successfully published feel like in your body? What does it look like? Does it look like being reviewed by major newspapers? Does it look like seeing your book on a shelf in bookstores, wherever you happen to be? Does it look like being a bestseller on Amazon? Does it look like having 300 books in boxes in your garage that you can hand out to your clients and fans? Just what does it look like for you? And how does it make you feel? So the more you can dig into this moment, the easier it will be to use this emotional intelligence to as a guide, as a compass almost, as you're making decisions about what comes next for your project. And then the last question, how are readers going to access and use your book? This is, I think, it's one of my favorite questions to both to answer for myself and to help clients explore, because it takes a little bit of visualization. I mean, you want to know how you're putting yourself into your future reader's shoes. So where are they going to be when they're reading your book? Are they reading it before bed? Are they in a library? Are they at an office? Are they listening to it while they walk the dog or do the dishes? Are they interacting with it in any way? Are there worksheet components? As you start to visualize the use, see if you can focus in on the format. So in your mind's eye, what is the look and feel? Is it a hardcover or a soft cover? Does it have illustrations or no illustrations? What color is it? What shape is it? Is it electronic? If it's electronic, are there any sounds or interactions associated with it? How does your reader feel when they're using it? What are they thinking about? If you can put yourself forward and really kind of dig into that visualization and make note of it, it's really exciting and will give you important information that will also inform your publishing path that you wouldn't necessarily have come to for many other stages. There are some authors who don't consider this until they're in stage 4, the business of publishing. And then there's a lot of scrambling. Or maybe how they envision it isn't possible. So it's better to know from the beginning what you have in mind so that all of your choices can be tailored to meet those goals and those needs. So those are the 5 questions. Again, one more time. What is your thesis? Who exactly is your audience? What are your goals for the project? What will publishing success look and feel like? And how are readers going to access and use your book? Then we have the workshop. We're here, it's upon us. So take a quick break if you need to. Get your papers together, get your worksheet and your tablet or whatever you'd like to use, grab some water, and we are going to do this live. So the first question is, what is your thesis? What is your thesis? And we are going to, you'll have 5 minutes to answer this question. I'll set a timer. And if I can figure out a way to share a countdown timer with you in the moment, I will. Otherwise, I'll let you know when it's time. So 5 minutes. And I'm live in the chat if you have any questions or problems as you're moving through this piece. You're doing great, just keep going. If someone were to take just one thing away from reading your book, what would you want that one thing to be? And this can be in bullet points, it can be a list, just thoughts. It doesn't have to be a fully formed paragraph, just so that you're very clear what your thesis is. If you finish early, you can start making notes or doing some free writing about what your main arguments will be. If you know what your thesis is and a few supporting points or things you know you'd like to include, you can always start brainstorming those now. Okay, this is the final minute, so wrap up whatever you're writing about your thesis. And we will shortly move on to question 2. Okay. Question 1 is a wrap. And we will move on to question 2. So for question 2, this is again about audience. Who exactly is your audience? Who is your audience? Who are you writing the book for? Get as specific as you can, up to and including identifying one person, one real person that you know in your life who your book would be perfect for. So if you get stumped, identify that person and then start to think about what their characteristics are. Okay, so we have 5 minutes here. And also think about, as you're answering these questions, think about where your ideal reader gets their content. Podcasts, audiobooks, do they purchase on Amazon? Are they local bookstore people? Are they library people? Where do they hear about books that they love? Is it from professional journals or somewhere else? Best friends, informal networking groups? So about 5 minutes, a little less than 5 minutes to really work through and brainstorm your audience. Who is your audience? Again, I'm in the chat live. If you have any questions or you're feeling stumped, pop over there and send me an SOS and I'll see what I can do about answering your queries. If you finish answering this question before the time is up, you can always keep exploring what is next. What else could you know that would be helpful about what your audience cares about, what their external experience is in terms of how they move through the world, and what their internal experience is, which is what they're believing about themselves, what they're believing about how the world is working, what they're believing about having the problem that you're going to solve. You can always dig in and think, what else might be true for them? Okay, we have about a minute left. So keep on keeping on. Wrap up your thoughts around audience, and we will move on to question 3 shortly. Okay, about 10 seconds left. Perfect. All right, you're doing great. We're about halfway through. Remember to just kind of like take a shake break. Just shake it out. Don't worry too much. It doesn't need to be perfect. It can just be good enough for now. You're going to want to hold all of these answers very lightly as you move through coming to understand what your book actually is. So there's what we think our books are going to be, and then there's what our books become. Sometimes those completely overlap, and other times they diverge a little bit. And the beauty in writing books authentically is allowing that book to become what it is actually without holding on too tight to what you thought it would be. So remember, you're doing great. Just keep up the good work. We're just going to continue to engage. You've got 2 more questions, and then we'll be moving along with something else. Okay. Now that you, okay, here we go. Question 3. What are your goals for this project? So what goals do you have for publishing this book? Why are you publishing? What does it mean to you? What do you hope to get from it? What are your personal goals? All right, so we've got 5 minutes, counting down now, and I will leave you to it. Remember, there are no wrong answers. Any answer that you have is the right answer. So just try to really explore what is true for you and be honest with yourself about what you want. What do you want publishing this book to bring to your life? What do you want for this book? It's okay if you have one primary goal or if you have 5 goals. The more specific you can get about all of that, the better. We're about halfway through our time on this question. And if you've already wrapped this up, you can keep thinking about goals. And you could move on to starting to think a little more broadly about success, which is the next question. The look and feel of success. But for now, what goals do you have for this project? About a minute left. Almost done. Start to wrap up your thinking. What goals do you have for your project? Write your final thoughts. Again, if you're stumped, drop me a line in the comments or in the chat box. We can make that happen for you. We'll get you some answers so that you can keep moving forward as needed. Great. Okay, question 4, which I foreshadowed a little bit. What will publishing success look and feel like? So again, you're going to have to use some visualization and really put yourself into the moment when your book has been published. Your book is published, you did all this work, you wrote it, you knew your audience, you found the right partners, you've created this beautiful product that you're so proud of, you just can't wait, it's in the world, and like just go there. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for your book to be in the world? What does success feel like? What does publishing success feel like in your body? What emotions are related to it? And what does it look like? When you are a successful author, how will that look in your life? What will change about your life or how you move through the world? That is publishing, kind of the nexus of this question. Probably should have started that timer sooner. So, and now you get extra time. This is a really fun one, so don't be hesitant to just kind of really get in there, envisioning your publishing success and then feeling into what that, and imagining what that feels like and what that will look like in your life. So again, we're answering the question, what will publishing success look and feel like? We're almost halfway through. If you have finished pondering this and made your notes and are really clear about what that might look or feel like, go just a little bit deeper in whatever way. What does it mean to you to become a published author? Why does it matter to you? Why is this something that you want? Is it becoming a published author that matters to you, or is it helping your readers that matters to you, or is it both? You're about halfway. A little over a minute to go. So if you're still writing, try to bring things to a natural close. Okay, about 30 seconds left. Let's wrap that visualizing up. Get really comfortable with the feeling of success and publishing success in your body. And then we will move on, figure out how to hold that in. You're going to need it later when you feel frustrated as a writer. It's a great place to revisit. And we'll keep a pin in these visualization skills as we move on to our next question. Question 5. How are readers going to access and use your book? How are readers going to access and use your book? 5 minutes. So again, access could be both material, hardcover, softcover. Is it a book they're going to hold in their hand in any way? Is it a workbook? Is it electronic? Is it a PDF, an electronic PDF? Is it interactive? And if it's a physical book, what does it feel like? What size is it? What shape is it? What's the paper like? What's inside? Illustrations, charts. Is it interactive? Are they writing anything down? Is it 4-color or black and white or red and black or whatever the case may be? You can think about that. And you can also think about where they'll be when they're using it. Snuggled up on their couch, reading it before bed, reading it on the metro or in transit, listening to it on audiobook. Are they at their desk? Are they with a client? You can answer all of those questions. The notion is to use the power of your mind to make your subconscious imaginings real. So put bones on them in some way so that you can identify them and work towards them. Because you might think that you don't know, but actually you do know. It's already inside of you. So the point of this exercise is to get it out of your subconscious mind. We're about halfway there. And if you've already finished this and you're looking for something to do, you can revisit the rest of your questions and answers. See if there's anything else that you'd like to add. Does all of that seem still true? Do you want to add any other points of clarification? Have any questions come up for you that you'd like to make note of or share in the chat? Any realizations that you'd like to share? Ahas? We have about a minute to go. Once this question is answered, there will be a bonus question that I'll ask you to pop your answer to in the chat. And then I'll just talk to you for another couple of minutes, and then we'll do our live Q&A. I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you live and hearing about your projects and seeing how I can help you move them forward and what you have thought about the strategy, publishing strategy foundations. So a little less than a minute left. Almost there. Okay. Yes, complete. All right, so these are bonus questions, and these are questions I always like to ask my clients right after they finish the publishing strategy foundations, so that they can really take the big picture and focus it down to right now. So the questions are, and I'd like you to write your answer, an answer if you feel like sharing the answer to these questions in the chat box, and we will address those while we're live. What is your biggest worry or challenge right now around your project? Knowing everything that you know with all of the thinking that you've done today, what's your biggest worry or challenge right now? Or what do you need to know before you move your project forward? Are you missing a piece of information? Or do you think you're missing a piece of information? Are you thinking, I know I want an agent, but I don't know how to do that? Or whatever the case may be. What are you missing? So these questions are around what's holding you back, what's keeping you from moving forward. So drop your answer to those questions in the chat box. while I go through this next slide, and then when we go live, we'll start to address some of those. My experience working with hundreds of authors, while every author is unique and all of their projects are unique, they deal with roughly the same handful of blocks or decision points where they need a little more information to make an informed decision. So don't be shy, and I can't wait to see what you share with us. Celebration! Woo! You did it! You have a publishing strategy foundation, which is so critical to everything that you're going to do from here on out. You really have done yourself and your project a huge, huge service. And I'm so excited for you that you now know and have defined and refined what you are going to do to get your book into the hands of your audience. I'm super excited for you. Okay, so listen. This is all about action. It's about turning your insight into action, and it is time to take action. So make a list of 2 to 3 small tasks that you think you could do right now to move your project forward. What could you do right now to move your project forward? And you can share your top choice or one of your choices in the chat. Now, if you don't know what to do to move your project forward, you can also put that in the chat. Like, I have no idea. What should I do next? And I will give you all some feedback and advice if that's where you are right now. Okay? All right, so we are going to go live soon to the live Q&A. I just want to let you know how I can help you if you're ever looking for more support. So if you would like more support around publishing strategy foundations, or what to do next, or deciding your publishing path, or anything like that, you can reach out to me in multiple ways. You can always email me at Christina@metabookdevelopment.com. My email is at the bottom of this slide. You can join my free Facebook group. I would love to see you there. It's called the Publish with Clarity Club. So members of my group, we get a lot of community support, of course, and access to resources and tools that I find helpful for my authors. And you also get invites, exclusive invites to live Q&A calls. So you're actually able to get bi-weekly live support for anything that comes up for you. And it's really fun, and I'd love to see you there. So please do feel free to join me there. You can check out my one-on-one consulting services. So I do 90-minute publishing strategy foundations calls, where essentially we will take the questions that you've answered in the foundations worksheet and take all of that to the next level. So in those calls is where I will help clients figure out what is the best next step for them and what the best match for their publishing path is. I find that it is still you know, everyone has a unique path, and there are a lot of elements that are interacting to build or direct you to kind of particular avenues. So a one-to-one consulting session is always something that I can help with if that's something that you're interested in. And you can, again, check it out on my website, which is metabookdevelopment.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram. I am there reluctantly. I love Instagram, but I'm not an inherently visual person. So I'm always like, I'm not a great digital photographer. I'm always trying to figure out how to post content that is visually interesting and up to par. But it is always very useful. So if you would like to join me there, I would love to have you follow me and we can stay connected that way. Okay, so again, you can join my free Facebook group, the Publish with Clarity Club. You can check out my one-on-one consulting services at metabookdevelopment.com, and we can connect on Instagram at Publish with Clarity. So next up is live Q&A call time. So again, if you have any questions, take this opportunity to type them in the chat. in real time, I'll do whatever I have to do as a moderator to start our live call. And I cannot wait to see you there. Thank you for sticking with me. You should feel very proud of completing your strategy foundations and really encouraged. You have done yourself such a huge service, and I can't wait to meet you live.